So you've lifted your Jeep and now you hate how it rides. In this video, I'm gonna break down all of the most common reasons why after a lift kit, your vehicle just doesn't ride the way you think it should, and some easy solutions to make it ride a lot better. By a large margin, the most common reason that people have a rough riding Jeep is they have too much air pressure in the tire. I know that is gonna seem trivial, like there's no way that's the reason. I'm telling you it is, and part of it is because so many tire manufacturers build tires that aren't necessarily Jeep specific. And what I mean by that is something like this 37 by 1250 R17 Trail Grappler is a load range D tire and can hold just over 3,500 pounds per tire at its max 50 PSI. That means this tire could be just at home under a 1-ton truck as it is under this Wrangler. And there's no sense in needing the same air pressure to be able to hold up this as you would a big Super Duty. Now, how do you figure out what is the right safe air pressure for a Wrangler? Because obviously if you go too low, you're gonna get into heating up the sidewall, which is dangerous. That's what causes blowouts. You're gonna get into chopping up the tread. You're gonna have instability with the vehicle overall. So yes, it is a fine line. The reality is, if you look at the number, just do it off of simple math. If you cut that 3,500 pound figure in half, you're still looking at 1,700 pounds of capacity at 25 PSI, which is still, again, more than what this vehicle needs. So what I typically tell people to do, let's say you got a 4-door Wrangler platform, always start around 32 PSI, especially if you have a load range D tire. That's really going to give you your best starting base. If you want to start at 35, you can always go, higher and work your way down. But in my experience, it's not uncommon, especially with something that's a load range D tire, to end up in the mid-20s with a nice, comparable, smooth riding tire on road that you're still getting a nice, even pattern, and you're not creating heat in the sidewall where the tire is dangerous for on-road riding. Now I know there's gonna be people in the comments say, well, if you go that low, you're gonna be robbing performance and fuel economy. It's a balance, and you have to figure out what's the most important thing to you. If you feel like, hey, I've chalk tested my tires and at 30 PSI, they're completely flat, so I'm happy with that, and I get better fuel economy at 30. If you're okay with that ride, then roll with it. To me, I'm always going to err on ride quality and tire performance over fuel economy. It's a Jeep. Fuel economy is kind of out the window. So realistically, something like this, I have about 28 PSI in the front tires and around 25 PSI in the rear. That's usual. If I'm going on the highway, I might bump them up in the back because I have a little bit more gear with me. And if I'm going to be towing a trailer or anything like that, I adjust accordingly. Ultimately, that is a huge deal to try to dial in how the vehicle feels. It's just by getting the right air pressure. Now, if you're worried, well, my tire pressure monitoring system is going to give me a warning light if I'm down in the mid-20s. Well, if you have a newer JK or JL, all you'll need to do is get a module from Z Automotive. They make something called a JK Blaster for the JK platform, so that's your 2007 to 2018. And for your 2018 and newer JL platform, they make something called a Taser JL Mini. That's going to allow you to do one of two options. You can either turn off your TPMS entirely, so you don't have to worry about the light at all, or you can lower that threshold amount so you can still have a TPMS monitoring your air pressure, but it's not going to give you that warning light when you do get into that more reasonable air pressure amount. Now, the next area we need to talk about are control arms and how lifting the vehicle can make such a big negative impact on the arms and what you need to do to make the Jeep drive better again. The first thing we need to talk about is where that lift amount window is that you get past what the factory control arms can handle. So if you've lifted your Jeep 2 inches, typically you can get away with keeping the factory control arms. Now you might need to do some sort of cam bushing or cam washer at the axle side to adjust for the positive caster, but typically you can get away with keeping the stock control arms if you're just at 2 inches. Once you pass that 2-inch mark, the Jeep will drive much better and benefit greatly from a set of adjustable control arms. The reason this is once you get that Jeep past 2.5 inches, the arms and axles start to sort of point toward the ground more dramatically. And the taller you get, the more dramatic this angle is. Now, first off, let's talk about why trying to get the caster makes a big difference. These modern Jeeps drive really well with 6 degrees of positive caster. That's what's going to make that return to center feel better, and it's going to keep the front end feeling lighter and more responsive. The more, I guess, the reduced number of that positive caster, so if you're closer to 3 degrees of positive caster, it's going to drive that axle a little bit harder into the ground, and it's going to make the steering feel heavier. So if your Jeep feels really twitchy, like you feel like it's going all over the place, you might actually have too much positive caster and you need to dial it back. If you feel like it's very slow now after you have lifted it, especially going down the highway and the Jeep's slow to return to center, that is a good indicator that you need more positive caster. And the way you can accomplish that is by getting an adjustable control arm. Now, that's one part of the solution if you're not happy with the steering. And that's more for on-road handling than off-road. I'll get more into that later. The next thing is you have to figure out, have you gone past what those control arms can really handle? And what I mean by that is, as you raise the vehicle, the control arm angle increases. And when you get to a certain point, that angle will be so much so that as you're going down the road, energy that's taken from the road, so, you know, anything you're driving over, a concrete expansion brake, rock in the road, whatever, that energy is going to get transmitted into the chassis, and you're going to feel that, and that is going to equate to a rougher ride. Now, depending on what type of control arm bushing you have will mask that. A factory rubber style bushing will absorb a lot of that, so you won't notice it as much. Regardless of what bushing you have, you are going to benefit from reducing that operating angle of the arm, because the flatter that arm is, the better. That means when you're going down the road, the tire is going to be going over the obstacle. You're not going to be transmitting as many things into the chassis. It's going to make it ride better on road and off. Now, how do you do that? How do you fix that control arm being at too big of an angle? You've already got your big 3.5 inch lift kit. You're not happy with how it rides, and now you got to buy another part. Well, you really have two solutions. You have, let's call the more expensive solution and the less expensive solution. Let's go less expensive first, because I'm sure that's more people are going to want to know about. And that is control arm drop brackets, also known as geometry correction brackets. And what that does, it takes your factory control arm mounts and essentially just moves them down about 2.5 inches. And that relaxes that angle of the control arm, whether you have a factory control arm or aftermarket. And that's going to help not only with overall ride, because now you're not transmitting as much energy into the chassis, but it's also going to help with handling, because you're not going to be as steep, so the suspension isn't going to feel as darty. So that is a very inexpensive way to make the Jeep drive better, and you usually see the benefit of those once you get past 3 inches of lift. That's kind of your window. So if you're above 3 inches, you really should look into control arm drop brackets at the least. Now, let's say you want to go with a slightly more expensive option, but potentially better option for a long-term upgrade, and that's going to be where long arm upgrades come in. So you can actually replace the shorter arm with a much longer control arm, and that's going to be more expensive because that's going to require a different mounting solution altogether. Now, the benefit of that longer arm is that it's kind of the same thing as the control arm bracket, is it reduces the angle, but having the longer arm keeps that axle more centered as the suspension travel. And the big advantage of that is if you do down the line, let's say go with a coilover suspension where you're now cycling 14 inches of travel instead of just 10 or 8, now that arm can travel in a easier arc, so it's not going to be walking where the suspension starts to walk underneath the vehicle, because you're going to find that limit of that shorter control arm with just a geometry correction bracket or keeping that factory arm. So long term, if you think down the road you're going to be going with some type of coilover system and you want to go ahead and upgrade and be prepared for that, that's really where the long arm comes in. You can make your Jeep drive just as well with a short arm suspension with control arm drop brackets as you can with the long arm. I don't want to sell it as you need the long arm, but there are advantages to it. So those are really your two ways. If you've lifted your vehicle really over 3 inches is usually when you notice this more, where you need that control arm drop bracket or you need the long arm. If it's just not handling very well with a 2.5 inch lift and you're not sure why, what I would do is take it to a reputable off-road shop and find out what that positive caster number is. Ideally, like I say, you want to be around 6 degrees. The only time that becomes difficult is at the same time, if you've moved up lift kits and you've actually changed your front drive shaft, you may find that with an aftermarket front drive shaft, you get a drive shaft vibration with that 6 degrees of positive caster. Some of that's going to depend on, do you still have a FAD, factory, which is your front axle disconnect. If you have blocked that off, or that does not exist on, if you have a 392 or a newer Wrangler, then you're going to be more likely to have that front end vibration. If you do still have the FAD motor, that front drive shaft isn't spinning going down the road, so you can get away with still having that 6 degrees of positive caster, and it's not as big of a deal. So some of that's going to be application dependent. If you have a factory drive shaft, it doesn't matter. You can go 6 degrees and you're perfectly fine. This 392 has a 3.5 inch Evo manufacturing suspension kit on it. I'm still running factory drive shafts front and rear. I'm definitely pushing the limits of the factory drive shaft, but one of the reasons that I've kept the stock drive shafts in here is the fact that I know that it's going to be almost impossible for me to run an aftermarket drive shaft and not get a front end vibration with 6 degrees of caster. And this thing drives so good as it is, I hate to sacrifice that. So that's really why I have it. One of the things that I like the least about ordering an aftermarket suspension kit, regardless of the manufacturer, is that I never know what spring rate that I'm getting. Now, if you've already purchased your springs, you already got them under the vehicle, and you don't like how it rides, let's talk about that. First off, what you need to do is, if you do not like how it rides and you've already done the air pressure, your control arms are fine, and now you've still led to it feels rough. I hear that all the time. My Jeep just feels like it's not moving going down the road. It's bouncing all over the place. You have to figure out, what springs do you have? What spring did that manufacturer send you when you ordered that lift? And the reason I mention that is there are typically two camps of springs for Jeep Wranglers and Jeep Gladiators, a standard rate and a heavy duty rate. And if you have found yourself with a heavy duty rate spring and you do not have the weight to need that, it is going to equate to a rougher ride. And I tell people time and time again, before you buy your lift, absolutely call that manufacturer and ask, do you guys have a standard rate and a heavy duty one? Because if you do not have aftermarket skid plates and bumpers and doodads all throughout, that weight difference and that weight that's missing is going to impact how your vehicle is going to ride, and you're much better off going with a standard rate spring over a heavy duty rate spring. So let's talk about shock types and how your shocks can impact your ride quality in other ways. If you feel like your vehicle has too much sway, and it's just kind of moving a lot going down the road and just feels really loose, part of that is because your low speed compression is too light, and you need increased low speed compression to keep the vehicle from doing that kind of weird sway motion. If you feel like when you're off-road or you hit a speed bump and your shock blows through too quickly and you're just bottoming out the suspension constantly, that means your high speed compression is not adequate and the shock's able to move too quickly. So how do you compensate for that? Well, there are shock manufacturers out there that have things like their e-click system, which is a automatically adjusting velocity sensitive system that's going to be pretty expensive, but will do it automatically for you. And there's other suspension systems out there that allow you to manually adjust it. Something like the Fox 2.5 with DSC adjusters allows you to manually control the low speed compression and the high speed compression. So shocks can be a little bit more complicated. A lot of times the shock really isn't your culprit for why the Jeep is riding rough, but if you don't like how the Jeep is riding, there are some ways to fine tune it. So let's say your air pressure's right, your alignment's right, your control arms aren't at a weird angle, and the coils and shocks are supposedly good quality and what's supposed to be under your vehicle, and you're still not happy with how it rides. If you're not happy with how it rides because you feel like it's too stiff, your kind of last ditch effort, in my experience, has been to just get rid of the coils altogether and go with a coilover. Now, just putting a coilover under your Jeep isn't going to make it magically ride better. You're going to have to spend some time to dial it in. I don't care whose coilover kit you get, there is a good chance that it's going to be still too stiff for what you like, because a lot of times when people do move to coilovers, it's because they are wanting the most performance, which a lot of times equates to off-road speed out of their vehicle, and it just might be too stiff for you. So why am I recommending a coilover in general? Well, because you can dial in a coilover so much easier than you can a standard rate coil. You can go with that much lighter primary rate, which is that top half of your coil, so you can get that nice buttery smooth ride on road, and it'll take a lot of that off-road roughness out as well by having that softer upper rate. And then you can have a more aggressive secondary rate that's going to take those bigger hits and work on just keeping the vehicle balanced like it should be. There's just a lot of good tuning opportunities with a coilover to help you really dial in your suspension. So if you have gotten to the point and you are very picky and you're like, I'm just still not happy with how my vehicle rides, and you're willing to chase that to the very end, I would say take a deep breath and start looking at some coilover options. There are a lot of good companies out there that make bolt-on and weld-on coilover kits for the Wrangler and Gladiator platform. I've had great luck with many of those, your Evos and Rock Crawler. I will say, if I was to put a coilover kit under anything that I have right now, I would probably go with Evo Manufacturing. I know that they typically work with King to get the most travel out of that particular shock body. I'm not a King guy more than I am a Bilstein guy or a Fox guy, but I know that they work really closely with Evo to package a coilover that's going to give you the most up travel and down travel. And I also know that that's a company that you can pick up a phone and call and say, I feel like this is too stiff, or even before you order the coilover, say, listen, I'm looking for something to ride as smooth as possible. I'm not trying to be a hero in the desert, and they can probably set you up with maybe a lighter rate top coil than what they normally would offer. Or they might say, hey, we're gonna send you this package like this is. If you don't like it, then we can fine tune it from there. You just have a lot of options. And one of the challenges, like I say, when you move to over 3-inch coils, a lot of the manufacturers all have a pretty similar rate, and they can feel a little stiff, especially if you don't have a lot of extra weight to accommodate that higher rate. So that's really kind of what I got. Hopefully this wasn't terribly confusing, and hopefully it is helpful. If you've got any questions, just drop them right in the comments. I do a lot of work for Driving Line, so a lot of you might be more familiar with seeing my videos over there, and this is my own channel that I kind of pick at from time to time. So if you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. There'll be more content coming soon, and with any luck, hope to see you on the trail with a nice riding suspension. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.